All right, the worst days of the week are behind us. Tuesday, after we do game time, of course, that's one of the worst days of the week. And then Wednesday, mainly because there's no NFL. You're waiting on fantasy waiver wires to go through. There's not any good college football. They got like Sam Houston State and UTEP playing, which it's there, but you don't really want to eat it. You know what I mean? So here we are on Thursday. Prediction episode, as always, here on Game Time, and giving you guys a preview for the Saints, the LSU game, as we do every week. In terms of the accuracy of how the results go, that's another question, but we'll try to get back on the winning side of it for you this week. Check out our episodes. If you've missed any Tuesday's episode, last Thursday's episode, they're all on the playlist on YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe here on the platform as well. And comment, too. If you guys have thoughts on the segments I do, segments you want to see, things that I say that you agree or disagree with, please drop some comments below, and I'll come back and respond and interact and all that kind of stuff because I got nothing else better to do. So please go ahead and do that. We got LSU today, as I said. We got another film review we're going to do about this defense. Some good, some bad there. Michael Thomas, is he back? We'll talk about that. And then the Saints and Texans going at it this weekend, so we'll preview that game for you guys. And be sure to follow me on social media if you don't already, at John Eads, WAFB. All right, all that out of the way. Let's get into the episode. It's going to be electric today. All right, so we're going to start out hot with an LSU-Auburn game preview, game prediction. This one's tough because LSU is, coming back home, a place they haven't been very much so far this season, to start a stretch where they play 5 home games out of their last 6. And this is a sneaky good game against an Auburn team that is 3-2. Coming off a bye week, played a very competitive game at Texas A&M, and they forced Georgia to go down the field and score in the final minutes of the game a couple weeks ago to beat them in the Deep South's oldest rivalry. So certainly a very battle-tested team, certainly a very tough team, but what they don't have is offense. So what that makes is this game, which LSU is favored in by 11 points, a strength versus a strength game. That's a better visual for you guys. So, on this side, you got the LSU offense. That's the Tiger's strength. On this side, it's Auburn's defense. LSU, the top offense in the SEC, top 3 in the country in total offense, top 10 in rushing, passing. You get the picture. But what Auburn has is that really good defense. It feels like they have a good defense every year, but especially this year. They are top 25 in both total defense and scoring defense. They've allowed about 320 yards per game, which is really good. And then about 18 points per game defensively. And it's very balanced. It's not like they're very good in the run or very good in the pass. They're good at both. They're number 30 in passing defense in the country, and they don't really give up a lot of big plays. The same was true with Missouri last week. I told you, yards per completion will tell you if you give up big plays. If it's up near 14 yards per completion, yeah, you give up a lot of deep plays. If it's down near 11, like Auburn's is, it's actually below 11, that means you just give up little dink and dunks, like 20, 15-yard gains throughout the course of the game, right? What this passing defense is susceptible to, though, is one-on-one matchups, especially in the middle of the field. I was watching the A&M and the Georgia tape, and that's how those two offenses move the ball. That's how Georgia scored the game-winning touchdown with Brock Bowers, a dart over the middle, one-on-one. And we know that Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors like to do that. Neighbors can run a slant, he can run a drag, whatever. They like to attack the middle of the defense because when you bring blitzes, like Auburn does a lot, your first look's usually to right in the middle of the field because that's where the blitzers are coming from most of the time. It's right in front of your face, right? In terms of the run defense, Auburn's a little bit weaker here. They're number 53 in the country. They allow about 4 yards per carry, 129 per game, so still very solid. And they did hold Georgia to just 107 yards on the ground. But I looked this up because I was curious about this. Georgia's not a running team this year. They're more of a passing team. So that number doesn't really scare me, make me shiver, anything like that. Georgia's the number 68 rushing offense in the country. So middle of the pack, it's not what they move the ball or what they pride themselves upon doing offensively. It's more about that pass game. And that's how Georgia beat Auburn. That's how I think LSU will have to beat Auburn, is with that passing game, because the Dogs pass for over 300 yards against this defense, again, with those one-on-one matchups winning over the middle of the field. One big key for LSU's offense in this game and Auburn's defense, red zone. Auburn's got the number 1 red zone defense in the SEC. They've only allowed 6 touchdowns on 13 trips. For comparison's sake, LSU's made it to the red zone 31 times this season. So Auburn hasn't allowed many teams to get into the red zone. Maybe that's because they've scored on long touchdowns or, whatever the case may be. But the point is, when they do get to the red zone, Auburn doesn't buckle. They force you to kick field goals. Again, 6 touchdowns on 13 trips. That's not that many. That's what? Maybe at 50%, maybe a little bit below 50%. My math's a little suspect there. So really, it's the Auburn defense against the LSU offense. And last thing on that red zone, LSU's offense is number 49 in the country in red zone offense. 22 touchdowns, 31 attempts. So they haven't necessarily been extremely efficient inside an opponent's 20-yard line. I would look for Mason Taylor to have a big game, though. I mentioned Brock Bowers. He's Georgia's tight end, but he's kind of like a wide receiver and a tight end. That's why he's a Heisman candidate right now. Mason Taylor's been a little bit quiet, but the way that Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors are attacking downfield, there might be some room for him to operate, or maybe even one-on-one matchups that favor him as those receivers go deep for those routes. So what this game really comes down to is, can LSU score? Auburn doesn't have the firepower offensively, but if you make mistakes, you turn the ball over, you allow them to eat up the clock and move the chains with their running potent offense, they can stay in this game and hang around. That's how they hung around against A&M. That's how they hung around against Georgia. So if you can just expose this defense with those same things we've been seeing, the downfield shots, but then the between the tackles and outside the tackles running with Logan Diggs, you should take care of business against this team. Auburn, if they put up 20 points, I would be surprised. All they do is run the ball. They cannot pass. Against Georgia and A&M, they passed it 43 times. They completed 20 passes for 144 yards. I mean, that's as many yards Jaden Daniels puts up in a pedestrian quarter. They cannot pass. They did surprise Georgia with Peyton Thorne, Robbie Ashford, the read options, the quarterback keeps. We hadn't really seen that from this offense before. Georgia hadn't seen it. So that kind of caught them off guard in that game. Now Auburn's had a bye week. They've had extra time to prepare, make a game plan. So you've got to play disciplined defensively if you're LSU. Your linebackers got to flow to the gaps. Your safety's got to make tackles in space. You know they're going to run the football. So keep them behind the chains, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and you'll have no problem because, again, they just cannot pass. That's all I got to say. I think there's more things I could go into, but that's really what this game comes down to. If your offense can continue to put up points against probably the best defense you've played all season long, that's the difference. In terms of who I think wins, I think LSU wins. There's no question about that. The 11-point spread is very tricky. I was leaning to take Auburn originally. I think I'm going to go with LSU, though. I think they can pull this one out and cover this 11-point spread just because of how potent this offense is and how much Auburn lacks on that side of the ball. And I'm going to ask Brian Kelly today how he plans to attack this offense and the way they run the ball. They don't really pass. I'd be curious to get that answer. I think LSU can do this, though. Back in front of the home crowd, energized. The offense has proven week after week they can put up points against mediocre defenses, against above-average defenses. This one's a stiffer test, but I think LSU is up for it. All right, back at the board, we've got another film review session for you guys. I hope you're enjoying these. If you do, let me know. And again, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel here on YouTube. Check out our playlist for more episodes. We've done a couple of different film reviews. We talked about the defense against Ole Miss, the mistakes they made in that game, and about Harold Perkins, kind of the new usage for him that we saw in this Missouri game, which I'm breaking down right here. Today, we're talking about a secondary member. We're talking Major Burns. And a bad play he had, but also a good play he had. Because I think right now this LSU defense is getting better, but individually they're kind of still struggling with some zone coverages, communication, things like that. So I'm going to show you a play where they didn't communicate well, and as a result, Missouri hit for a big play, but then a different play where LSU forced a turnover. So let's start with the bad play, then we'll get to the go. We'll eat our vegetables and get our dessert after that, all right? So here we go. O's for the offense. Guys you got to watch here are Luther Burden, Missouri receiver, and then Harold Perkins over here. Major Burns and Greg Penn, 2 linebackers. So Missouri runs a play-action fake. LSU brings 4. They drop into zone. He goes vertical to take him out of the play. And then Burden runs a little bit of a corner route like this to attack this open space right here. So what happens is they kind of bite on that play-action fake first. They take a few steps forward, both of them. But then they're like, oh, they're passing. So then they back up. So here we go. And this is where Penn goes. and this is where Burns is going, and they talk to each other. They're like, hey, you got to cover. Penn's like, hey, you got to cover out here, pointing to this area. But they kind of cover the same area right here. Meanwhile, Burden breaks outside, and he gets open in this space right here. Throws, catch, and he gets vertical. And then Burns has to chase him down for a tackle. So just didn't communicate well here. And also, they covered the same area. And what Burns needs to know is that, hey, my job is from here to the sideline. And he didn't cover that area, so that's why Burden was open. And you'd think they'd want to cover the top receiver on the other team, just go stride for stride with him because he's probably getting the ball. So that was a bit of a coverage blunder there, and they'll have to clean that up. Not necessarily against Auburn because they can't pass the ball, but against better teams going forward. Because if you've got two guys covering 10 yards of space, there's a lot more yards available, and they're going to find that open space and hit for big plays just like that one. But that was the bad. Let's get to the good. Move forward to the next play here. All right, so four-man rush again. Missouri back on offense. Final minute of the game. LSU's up 42-39. So Missouri's got to score to win. Also, shout out to Jay Bramblett for the excellent punt. They're at like the 7-yard line for this play, and that made a big difference right here. So passing again. We got a bunch to the left side. This top receiver runs vertical. This receiver right here just kind of runs a sideline route. He's a short option. But again, Brady Cook, his favorite target, Luther Burden, of course. That's why he leads the team in receiving. He runs kind of a similar route to what we just went over. He's trying to get in and then get back out and hit on that vertical space. So Penn here, the linebacker, kind of man-to-man covers this guy here on this out route, but he drifts over that way, covers that space. Again, he's vertical. So Burns and everybody else kind of drop back to the first down marker. And Burden, again, kind of just runs this way and wants to get back outside. But Major Burns just saw that on that last play, so he recognizes what's coming this time. He drops back, reads the quarterback's eyes. He's staring down Burden as he does every play. Pass goes, he picks it off, jumps right in front of it, baited him into throwing it, and he ran it in for a touchdown, which Brian Kelly wasn't too happy about, but he did. That put the game away. So again, he was in zone coverage, but he was smarter about it. Oh, this is their best receiver. He's probably getting the ball. I'm in zone. He's running in my general area. There's nobody else around me. So I may as well just cover him and hang around this guy because I don't need to push him aside and cover a zone. Nobody else is in the zone. He's the only receiver there. So he recognizes that. Whoops. And picks the pass off and puts the game away with that play. So that was an example of good zone coverage by Major Burns. And if we could just see more of that, jumping at those opportunities, playing cerebrally, that's a hard word to say, cerebrally smart, and forcing other teams to make mistakes, this defense can make another big jump and go from here to here. And again, it's not going to be that big of a factor in the Auburn game this weekend, but A&M, Alabama, those kind of games where you're playing disciplined teams, disciplined offenses, they won't make these kind of mistakes. You got to force them to make mistakes like this and play good coverage. So good job by Major Burns there. Let's see if we can cut out the mistakes and keep up with these good plays. All right, switching gears, moving up to the NFL. I want to talk about the Saints a little bit. First, we'll talk about a player on the Saints, and then we'll get into the Saints-Texans game. Is Michael Thomas back? Because he's looked really good this season. He's actually leading the Saints in receptions. Can you believe that? If you would have told me that coming into the season, hey, entering week, 5 or 6, whatever we're in, Michael Thomas is going to be leading the Saints in receptions, I would have been like, you're kidding me. Because Chris Olave has been that guy recently for this offense, and many thought that he would be the guy this year. I mean, he still is, don't get me wrong. He leads the team in receiving yards and targets still. But Thomas has made the most catches amongst that wide receiver core, and he looked really good against the Patriots. And that's why I'm bringing this up, because he kind of flashed some of that Michael Thomas 2019, 2018 stuff that we used to see. We haven't seen since then because, injuries, he hasn't played, yada, yada, yada. You guys get the picture there. But he led the team in receiving against the Patriots. He had 3 catches on 3rd down to move the chains and get a first down. One of those really stuck out to me. And it makes me think that Carr and Thomas seem to have a little bit of chemistry that we've seen before between Thomas and Drew Brees. So it was a 3rd down. The Patriots were bringing a zone blitz, and reportedly, Carr and Thomas kind of looked at each other. They didn't say anything because you probably couldn't hear what they were saying. You're playing on the road, it's loud, whatever. But apparently, Carr made a bit of a nonverbal gesture, like, one of these kind of things, to let Thomas know, hey, cover zero's coming. You're going to be one-on-one. I'm going to be looking for you to make a play. The same way that the Saints used to look at Michael Thomas to make those one-on-one plays, make those contested catches. That's how he got a lot of his production, right? So the blitz comes. Carr rolls out this way, so not to his strong side, fires a ball downfield. Thomas makes the catch while taking a hit in double coverage. That is vintage Michael Thomas. And that made me raise my eyebrows. Like, wow, that wasn't just a wide open curl route for 6-7 yards like he's been doing most of the season. No, that was Michael Thomas inviting contact, not caring, and making a play that not many receivers in the NFL could make. And it also shows, again, that toughness that made Michael Thomas elite a couple of years ago. He didn't care about getting hit. He didn't play with caution. He played with reckless abandonment. And that's what he's done so far this season. A lot of people, fairly so, have questioned his toughness and his buy-in to this organization, his buy-in to this team winning football games. But at least from where I'm sitting and standing watching these games, I think he's 100% bought in. And he's making difference-making plays in these games to help the Saints win, and I can only expect that to continue. For the sake of fun, I pulled up Michael Thomas's 2019 highlights just to kind of see and reminisce in what he was when he was elite. And the same play that I saw in that Patriots game, him going up, making the catch, is what we saw in 2019 and 2018, those good years with Drew Brees. There were plays where Drew Brees just had 100% faith in Thomas making a play. It's third down, it's one-on-one, it's a 50-50 jump ball. He threw the ball with the hope and the confidence in Thomas that he would make the catch, that he would come down with it, that he would move the chains, whatever it may be. And that's why he was so good. He was the go-to guy. And whoever was throwing him the football, Teddy Bridgewater for some of those games in that year, Drew Brees trusted him to get the job done. And more often than not, he did that. Now what the struggle has been is with Andy Dalton, with Jameis Winston, because Brees has been gone, of course, forming that relationship, forming that trust with a new quarterback. And you wonder what it would be like with Derek Carr. But this play right here that I just described to you is a great example to the point that Thomas and Carr are developing that relationship. They're developing that trust. And maybe Thomas can be that go-to guy for Carr, and that would just open this offense so much more. With Kamara, with Shaheed, with Olave, if you can have one more receiver that you trust, because it takes a lot to put your trust in him and then throw a ball that maybe is questionable. Maybe playing with a little bit of, gambling. You know what I'm saying? Like throwing a ball that maybe shouldn't be thrown, but you've got the confidence in your receiver to make the play. And when you have that confidence, when you have that faith, you'll take more of those chances. And with Michael Thomas, if he can pull out some of that 2019 stuff, more often than not, those chances will work out well for you. So look, he's off to a good start. He's not at 300 yards receiving, but he's been consistent and providing every single game so far. Now the question is, can Thomas and Carr take it from here to here? And maybe can we see just a few more glimpses of that 2019 Michael Thomas? It will only benefit this offense. And without the Kamara back, he's destined to get more one-on-one matchups every game as we go forward. So I'm curious to see what he does this week against the Texans. Can we see more of that, Michael Thomas of a couple of years ago, week to week going forward? And who knows what he could be by the end of the season. But I'm curious to find out, and I just wanted to put this on your guys' radar. Watch out for Michael Thomas. He might be back. All right, with that, let's get into this Texans game. I got a lot to say about this one, and it's a tough one. Again, just like LSU Auburn, this is a tough pick against the spread. It's just a tough pick overall. So Saints on the road against the Texans, 2-3 team. They're coming off a loss, a very close loss to the Atlanta Falcons last week, a game that I thought they were going to pull out and win, but late field goal is the difference. First matchup between these two since 2019 as well, so it's been a little while. Drew Brees was quarterbacking in that last one that they played against each other. So a couple things that I liked about last week. Obviously, the defense was unbelievable. They just shut down what was inept Patriots offense to begin with, but made them look like a college team, really, with that shutout there. And then on the offensive side, I love that Kamara got more touches. I know we spoke last week going into that game against the Pats about how, hey, he's got to get more touches. He needs more handoffs, and he did. He had 22 carries for 80 yards. That's what we want. That's what this Saints team needs. He needs to get more of those opportunities, especially on third down, and he did. So let's keep that going. So Saints-Texans, again, it's kind of a strength against a strength type game. Houston's had a lot of talk about C.J. Stroud and their offense. On the other side, when you think of the Saints this year, so far at least, you've thought about that defense. It's been really productive, disruptive, and efficient for this Saints team. They've certainly led the way. So the biggest question in this game, can the Saints defense affect and get after C.J. Stroud? He's yet to throw a pick this season. He's a rookie quarterback. He's looked really good. A lot of people were skeptical about how he would translate from college to NFL and in year one, but he's looked excellent, like an NFL quarterback that belongs at this level. He's third in the league in passing yards at over 1,400. Overall, the Texans are the number 3 passing offense in the league so far this season. But on the other side, the Saints have played great defense. They're tied for second in the NFL in interceptions. They're one of the top pressuring teams in the NFL. They're one of the best coverage teams in the league as well. And it's been consistent week to week. It doesn't matter who they're playing. They rush 4. They've gotten into that backfield and forced turnovers, gotten sacks, and forced punts, that kind of stuff. And that's what you'll need against this Texans offense. They've got Nico Collins at receiver and Tank Dell. Those are their 2 big weapons on the outside. But here's something that you might not know that I'm going to let you know about. It doesn't seem like Dell is going to play. He's had concussion things recently. I think he might actually have a concussion. That's what he was kind of coming back from. Did not practice yesterday. Is not expected to play or be available on Sunday. And that is massive. That might be the difference in the game right there, because last week they didn't have Dell against Atlanta, and Nico Collins was nowhere near what he's been so far this season. He had 4 targets, caught 3 of those for 39 yards. That's not explosive at all, and he's been explosive so far this year. But it seems like the Texans need Dell and Collins on the field together to allow each other to make those big plays. So he's not going to play. That's huge for this Saints defense, and I really think they're going to have an opportunity to get after Stroud and maybe force his first, maybe his second interceptions of the season. But Saints offense, that's been the biggest question mark all year. Can they complement this defense? If they can at all, they'll win. I mean, they did last week. They needed a field goal to win that game, and that's it. But they got 34 points. Would love to see that again this week. Some things about the Texans. They don't get a lot of pressure. They like to blitz a lot. I saw a number that they're one of the top blitzing teams in the country, but they only have 5 sacks this year. And that bodes well for the New Orleans offensive line, which we all know, we've talked about since week 1, week 2, has not been good this year in pass protection. So I really think that Derek Carr will have more time to work in the pocket, make his reads, make his throws, which is huge. And I think will really open up this offense. And the Texans made it their game plan, as every team kind of has last week, to shut down Bijan Robinson. But unlike the Lions and some other teams that have beaten the Falcons this year, they allowed Desmond Ridder, of all people, to make plays and let that passing game get going. So if you game plan to shut down Bijan Robinson, you got to still have that good passing defense, which the Saints do. So that was more of a defensive thing. Back to the offense, again, the Texans love to blitz a lot, so I really think that there's going to be downfield plays available for Chris Olave, for Rashid Shaheed, heck, even Michael Thomas. So I don't know. I mean, a lot of people think the Texans will win this one just because they're playing at home, but to me, it's a Saints win, no-brainer. And I've said that before. I think I said that going into the Tampa Bay game, which was not a no-brainer whatsoever. But I really think the Saints can win this game. I think that Stroud, as a rookie, will make some mistakes. He hasn't seen a guy like Carl Granderson yet. He hasn't seen a defensive line and a linebacker unit like the Saints have. Not to mention you got Marshawn Lattimore, Alontae Taylor, and Paulson Adebo in the back end to cover those receivers. I really think the defense will play well. And I think the offense, again, will just do what it needs to do to win the game. They may not be explosive. They may not put up 34 points again, but they'll do enough to win. It's a 1.5-point spread. I'm taking the Saints basically straight up, pick them, easy work. And that's what we got. All right, so those games coming up this weekend. LSU on Saturday night in Tiger Stadium. It's going to be an awesome crowd. It's going to be an awesome environment. I cannot wait to watch it. And then the Saints on the road against the Texans there. And I got a lot of confidence in New Orleans. I think that people are down on them because of how they've played so far this season, not knowing some of the external factors, but they'll let people know who they really are and who they're developing to become this weekend with this game. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think about LSU? What do you think about the Saints? Appreciate you guys watching. Again, be sure to like and subscribe. Follow the social media accounts as well. And we'll come back next week and get back into LSU, back into New Orleans, recap those games, and continue on throughout the season. So thank you again. Enjoy your weekend. We'll catch you guys next week.